I believe we are all set, ready to go on YouTube. I think we're on Twitch. Cool. Hello. How's everybody doing? How's things? How has your week been? How are you guys? Hello to Sophie and hello to Essentialist. You guys are still here. There is apparently 5 people watching, so hello to you 5. How you guys doing? How's your week? I've had a busy one, actually, very busy. I've been benchmarking streaming stuff non-stop with the 6900 XT that I have, which has been awesome. And I've been fixing my car. Well, replacing the battery, which is a more involved process than I would like to admit these days. Your alternate Krabby, hello. Been very busy too, nice. What with, Sophie? Hello, Harry. How you doing? I am okay. Like I said, busy week, but you know, we'll get on it. That one. Software and optimizing, nice. I've also been busy with software actually. With locally my short linking platform, we are doing some really exciting stuff with directly integrating with Amazon's product advertising API, which will mean that we can do some really cool stuff. And I've been writing the entirely back-end function that gets all of the data we need to make that happen. So yeah, it's been interesting. I'm not normally the one to write those sorts of helper functions and or helper files to do that sort of stuff on my own. I normally have my friend Dan do it for me, but this has been nice to get my head around how to do it all reasonably well. So yeah, been good. Hello Essentialist, how you doing, man? How's things? Hello Budget Bench, how you doing? Are you ditching the Twitches, Essentialist? I cleaned my mechanical keyboard after watching your video. It took me 40 minutes. Nice. That's probably about how long it took me. I think it probably took me like 20 minutes. But I'm also someone who's quite... I get bored easily, so the more efficient that I can be, generally the better. So, yeah, fair play. And yeah, I'm glad that you got it cleaned. How kind of disgusting was yours compared to mine? Because mine was... Well, it was really gross. Been busy taking apart my PC after my X570 Pro Carbon gave up under sheer pressure. Ah, that's not good. Have you got a replacement at all, or are you sending that one away to be repaired and then send it, you know, dropping it back in? What language? English. Dropping Twitch for now. Nice. Just bought my first DSLR, so waiting for it to arrive. Nice one. What did you buy? I've been looking at new cameras myself. In the pricier range, you know, nothing compared to the Linuses of the world with their like 12 or no, I think it's 6 12K cameras. I don't need that in my life, but yeah. Oh, what language was your helper function? Got ya. So it's a we write in JS, JavaScript for the front end, and TypeScript, so essentially JavaScript for the back end. An old Sony Alpha 100. Nice. Not going overboard since it's just a hobby. I should really learn from your lesson. Hello Phil. How you doing, man? Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody too. I think I said that all last week. Technically it wasn't the New Year, but yeah, Happy New Year. Now we're in it. Jonathan, is anything being done to stop scalpers yet? So there isn't a universal solution that I have seen. The different retailers, different distributors, all sort of people are doing different solutions. So things like I heard people like Overclock UK and probably Scan were doing effectively after purchase checks, and if those checks didn't clear, then they would cancel the order and immediately relist the stock. Some people are doing the usual, captcha checks and that kind of thing upon checkout or upon adding to cart. Some people are doing kind of the wrong thing, which is not removing stock from the site until you've actually bought and paid for it, rather than what often happens, or what should happen, is when you put something in your shopping cart, if that item has a finite amount of stock, what happens is when you put it in your shopping cart, that effectively reserves that item. And there is a thing called shopping cart abandonment, which you have to basically go back and programmatically remove things from people's shopping carts after a set period of time. It's a thing, but what they're doing is essentially not reserving things, which does mean that there is problems with, people go to buy things that it says are in stock, but by the time they click buy, someone else has already got there first, and so suddenly the stock that it said there was didn't actually exist in the first place. So there's some problems with doing it that way, but there are some other methods that people are using to help that. Doesn't everything have a finite amount of stock? Well, I was thinking digital goods. Installed a few new programs, including PaintNet compression stuff and optimization, and did a lot of coding. Nice one. OCUK at least have 0 stock available to purchase right now. You nailed it with a shopping cart reservation, because that's how I managed to secure a 3080 last week. Nice. That's awesome. Which one did you get? And has anyone made the haven't seen you last year dad joke? Yes, me and my partner made them quite religiously on the first, then promptly stopped. Waiting for a reply since my Hackintosh is kernel panicking. Nice. What hardware are you setting it up on? I saw you you had a USB set up in the Discord, but I didn't see what you were using. I can't even secure a 970 Ti. Well, there's a thing about that. 3060 Ti versus 3070 worth the extra 100. So I haven't tested a 3060 Ti, so I can only go off the numbers that you will have hopefully seen as well. As far as I'm aware, no, it's not really worth it. The performance gap I don't think is that massive, and for an extra 100, I'm gonna assume dollars, it's not a drastic performance improvement. Of course, getting the better card will still be faster, but whether it's worth that extra, 100, I'm not so sure. A Ryzen 2600, 16 gigs of RAM, 1070, 1TB SSD. Apple thinks it's a 2010 iMac. Apple thinks any Hackintosh is a 2010 iMac. No, seriously, my 32-core Threadripper is a 2010 iMac. It might be a 2012 iMac, actually. It's iMac 1,2, I think. It's been a while since I've done that. I am hoping, or I've been planning to do a Ryzen 5000 series Hackintosh, because as far as I'm aware, the kernel patches for OpenCore work just fine. The Zen 3, no, Zen 2 patches work fine for Zen 3 chips, as far as I'm aware. So I'm gonna have a play with that and see if I can make that work and do a video on that as well. Any advice on cooling a used 1070 FE? I just bought, replaced the thermal paste, but the cooler performance is still lackluster. So the 1070 was the 1070 the first time they did twin fans? I think it was. The immediate suggestion would be clean out the cooler itself, clean out the fins. Obviously, when you had it off, you would have had that sort of separated. So clean everything out there as much as possible. But otherwise, beyond that, and maybe playing with the fan curves. Oh, it's single blower. Got it. In that case, beyond supplying it with good cold airflow, so if you have a case fan at the front or the bottom that can blow straight into the blower, that would be good. And yeah, if you've done thermal paste and you've done you've cleaned it out, then there isn't all that much more you can do for that card beyond, like I was probably trying to say, changing the fan curve so that it runs a little bit louder but a little bit cooler as well. So yeah, or there is aftermarket solutions, as Essentialist said, where you can buy GPU coolers that will fit those cards and be a fair bit better. Will you be doing any CES coverage? I've heard it's much cheaper to get this year, this year for some reason. So I actually missed the Asus CES briefing today. So probably not in terms of videos. The majesty of covering things, you know, covering those sorts of events is being there live and being able to have like hands-on with the products and that sort of stuff. So if I can't do that, I'm basically just looking at provided images and stuff. So yeah, maybe next week's stream we can talk about that sort of thing, but in terms of, you know, dedicated videos or whatever, probably not. I haven't seen any pre-CES announcements at this point, really. I had a press release from Acer actually today that was they're releasing a 275 hertz 1440p monitor. It's gonna be like £1,000, but the Predator XB 273U NX, which will have both 275 hertz at 1440p and NVIDIA Reflex latency analyzer built in. So yeah, there's also a 4K one that will do 120 hertz, I think, and ultra amazing contrast ratio. Hello Joe, how you doing, man? Is anyone actually going to be at CES? I don't think that it's on at all. Like, I don't think that there is an event as such. I know that you can, like, I could register for CES the online, but I don't think that there is an in-person event at all. So no, technically. Jonathan, so the problem with trying to use shopping carts to you know, stop scalpers is most of them are selling on eBay, and eBay generally works the latter way, which is if you press buy it now, even if it's in someone's basket. And we should be back. Sorry, OBS or Streamlabs OBS just shuts sometimes. It's very frustrating, and also there's lots of things that break on my PC. So times. Anyway, what was I saying? Don't remember. Nope, got nothing. Someone's gonna have to remind me. Oh, shopping carts. Right, that's the one. So in terms of stopping scalpers selling their stuff, like I said, it's normally on eBay. That doesn't normally work. And in terms of stopping scalpers from buying stuff, the problem is that they're using bots to buy stuff where they can physically press the buy now button infinitesimally faster than you can. So yeah. CS isn't on as such. Yeah, so a lot of companies are running their own streams or their own announcements or whatever, separate from CES. But yeah. What's your favorite crypto? Bitcoin, because I just sold all mine. No, I don't really. Beyond effectively treating it as a stock, I don't focus on. I don't care much for them, I guess. Pay attention is probably the closest thing. Any idea how many new RG products will come out in CS? No, unfortunately, I missed the press briefing for CS for thingy, what you call it, for Asus's stuff, which was meant to be today, but it was quite early, and apparently my alarm didn't work. So yeah, so we will find out in probably the coming days. I'm building a PC for my kids, looking at the Ryzen 3600, think it's a good fit. Yeah, I mean, it's a good choice. It's still a great value proposition, and there's not too much else that can beat it, especially in terms of like upgradability in the future. Dogecoin is obviously the best. Yeah, you're right. You win, totally. Unlucky Joe. I still remember the days when there was a story of a guy who had, you know, 20 Bitcoin or something or other, and it got to 12,000 pounds, and everyone was freaking out. Can you imagine how he feels today? Any idea when the 3080 is restocking? No, like I was saying, from basically day one, it'll be a trickle of stock until probably in the kind of March area, maybe even later actually, when they start to become actually in stock, because there's still a lot of pre-orders that are still waiting to be fulfilled, even from the original launch days. So yeah, there's still quite a long line for those to be, you know, out. As usual, if I miss anything, feel free to post it again. What's your thoughts on the Strix Z490G gaming M80X and a 10900K and a 6800 XT for gaming and casual 3D modeling? So I suppose the question would be, why the 10900K and Intel at the moment? Because for 10900K money, you can buy, I believe, the 5800X, give or take. Might have come down in price, but I think so. And basically any B550 motherboard, and you'll get the same or better performance, and you'll get access to AMD Smart Access memory, at least right now. So yeah, Joe, I haven't. It's on my list. I've been working a lot. So I haven't really had too much sort of downtime to be watching videos and stuff. PS5s are looking to increase production soon, given according to IGN, Sony have axed production of the PS4 Pro to make way for more PS5s. Interesting. I wonder if the bottleneck would actually just be about what you call it? Like having the AMD APUs delivered to them. I do wonder, considering the stock shortages are for the GPUs especially, are mostly just because that's when, you know, it's the GPU cores that are kind of missing there generally. A guy bought 20 pizza with 20 Bitcoin back in the day. Yeah, I remember those stories. It's amazing. Wow. Oh yes, the AMD 5000 series CPUs are now in stock on scan. Awesome. I can't bring myself to get involved with crypto. Too much second guessing about when to sell. Yeah, I mean, so my personal opinion would probably be to treat it like any other stock, which is a sensible way of going about things is to buy in when it's low and sell when you are, when you buy in, have a, say, specific profit in mind, for example, and that will sell when you reach that point, and then you can be happy knowing that you've doubled your money, or you've gained 50% or whatever you fancy. So yeah. X. Haven't heard of it. Kind of the problem with cryptos is that there's about 7 billion of them, and there's always a new one. Kind of like JavaScript frameworks. But yeah, I wouldn't imagine that you should be buying any Bitcoin now. Probably what I would, I'm not a financial analyst or crypto analyst or whatever. I'm an idiot on a live stream, but that's kind of how crypto started. So imagine it's a case of switching fab lines, though we're yet to see because of the transition sizes being different by console SoC. True, that is true. Steer clear buying at the moment, yeah. Prob's got this question 8,000 times, but just saw the stream. Best motherboard combination for Ryzen 5900X and an RTX 3070 or 3080. So, hi, welcome. The answer to that question is probably a B550 board. It depends on what size you're after, but the thing about the 5900X and actually any of the Ryzen line is that they draw very little power. The 5900X draws around about 130 watts under full load, like rendering all cores in Blender. Even the 5950X still only draws about 130 to 140 watts of power, so it really doesn't need that much. And so pretty much any of the B550 motherboards that you can buy will support that chip just fine. Off the top of my head, this is probably more premium than you need, but the B550 Steel Legend from ASRock has very good support, very good VRMs, and very good overall feature set, if you like. In terms of how to see your computer temperature, yes, there's also core temp, which we were talking about last week as a very good, very easy and simple way to see things like your CPU temperature. If you need X570, the Tough Gaming Plus is surprisingly good value, but yeah, B550 is the better value chipset as it stands. Indeed, yeah. I have an i7 processor. Should I get a 1660 or 2080? Those are two very different things and two very different price points. And also what CPU you have doesn't really matter in how much graphics horsepower you want. So it's more about how much money you want to spend. If you meant 1660 or 2060, I could maybe understand. They're still different price points, but the 2060 would be the faster card. Mickey just got a tough 3080 OC last week. Nice. Matched with my 3600. Should I upgrade to a 5600X or higher, because I'm kind of considering between a CPU or a monitor upgrade. So Mickey, what monitor do you have right now? Hello Metcho, how you doing, man? Thanks, added to my notes, no worries. I'd like to get an RGB water cooler as well. I want the PC 11 dynamic case. Do you have any suggestions, preferably with three fans, 120mm radius? So if you want the Lianli case, you could go for the Lianli Galahad, which is their liquid cooler. I'm pretty sure it comes in a triple 120 configuration, if I remember rightly. And so that's a great option. You can get it in white or in black, or I suppose white, silver, and black, and has RGB on the pump as well. So and the fans. So it was pretty decent. There are a few other options that I like personally, but none are RGB. So if you want an RGB one, that would work very well, or that would match very well with your case, and so it's a good option. I just bought an XMG Core 15 for €1,500 with 4800H and a 2060 refresh, plus 16 gigs of DDR 3200 MHz, but I'm wondering whether I should have waited for the RTX 3000 mobile series. So it's kind of the curse of all technology, is that if you wait a little bit longer, there will probably always be a better option. The fact that there isn't a standard 3060 on the desktop yet would suggest to me that maybe what will happen is we will get the 3080 that we've seen rumored in the new Asus G15 or G14, the new Ryzen Asus laptop. We'll see that first. We might see 3070s as well, and then the 3060 or 3060 Ti's will come out in a few months after that. So I think for the time being, I think you're pretty safe, and it's still probably going to be a few months before we even see those laptops in reality. And then if they happen to come out with a 3060 version instead, they will be another few months on from that. So I think you're gonna have a decent enough time with it for now anyway. You've got the Element Gaming 1440p 140 Hz. Nice. So if you're just gaming, and especially if you're gaming at 1440p, the 3600 will do fine for now. And so going to a nicer quality monitor will probably give you a better usage upgrade than going with a new CPU, and then you can upgrade the CPU at a later date. I think that's my personal preference. The new EK AO is quite good. Nice. I haven't actually. Is that the one with the pump on the end of the radiator? I don't remember. Is B550 Intel based? No, it's an AMD CPU. An AMD chipset. Sorry. Intel's chipsets are, for the current generation, Z490, was it H410, B410? B460? B460. H460? Who knows? Thanks for looking into the Galahad AO. What are you recommended water coolers? So the one that I like the most, and the one that I've used the most is, you can't quite see it, but it's the Fractal Design S24. They also do the S36 if you want a 360mm AO. It just does it really nicely. The fans are all connected to a little hub that's on the radiator, and then the wire for that hub is run down the sleeve for the tubing, so that to power both the fans and the pump is only one fan header. Just really nice. It's also incredibly quiet and does a pretty good job for temperatures. So yeah, that. Mickey, you're doing gaming and streaming. That changes things. So in that case, the 5600X will give you a pretty decent improvement, and I think there's probably two ways that you could go about it. You can probably find a 3800, a 3700X, 3800, or even, especially if you're shopping on eBay, 3900X for the same sort of price. You can buy a 5600X new here in the UK anyway. So it depends what your preferences are. You might see a better experience with the older but higher core count chips. Take a look at benchmarks for the specific things you want to do and kind of see there. The Razer Blade 15 base model or the GS66 Stealth. What's the spec of the two that you're looking at? Got a fair few things coming from overseas the next couple of weeks. Have you experienced anything bad with Brexit for any deliveries? I haven't, but I also haven't had any deliveries yet. I have had it where sometimes there are import fees that you either pay, or you normally just tell the company that sent it to you, hey, there's an import charge on this, please go pay it. And that normally works out okay, but I haven't had any deliveries in yet. The majority of the people that I work with are UK based, and so they've normally imported the stuff anyway. So yeah, it will be interesting because often a lot of times the stuff that I get is from is sent by a UK person, but they house all of their stock normally in Eindhoven in the Netherlands, and then send that out instead. So it'll be interesting to see. What's a good motherboard for the 5950X? Realistically, any B550 board will handle it fine. Off the top of my head, the one that I've already recommended on the stream so far is the ASRock B550 Steel Legend. It's a very good, well-built board with plenty of beefy VRMs, more than enough to handle the 5950X, and so it's not the cheapest board, but it's also very well built and with some nice features. So take a look. I've done a full review of it if you're interested. Hello Simon, how you doing, man? And happy new year to you. Finally got a 3080 this week. Nice. Disappointed in my 2070 Super with overclock matches and sometimes beats the 3080 in most games. Does it? That's interesting because most people would tell you that the 2080 Ti would struggle to beat a 3080. Interesting. What resolution are you playing at? Hello Ryan. Race safe. Any chance you can make a video displaying the difference between 4 RAM sticks and running quad channel? Keep running into people believing they're the same thing. Nice. So in terms of a specific video on that, I could probably do a sort of RAM explain video. I tend to do those sorts of tech explain things, and that kind of works out. But yeah, for those of you who don't know, quad channel RAM is generally only seen on like Threadripper 2011, and what's the other one? What's Intel's newer one? 2066. That's the one. Where there's normally more than 4 RAM DIMM slots, but the channels and the number of sticks aren't necessarily related. And Epic and Xeon Ws, anything where there is normally more than 4 sticks is where you normally find higher channel RAM counts. I have a 280Hz monitor, but when I go into the settings, it only shows up to 144Hz. So the question is probably what display connector are you using? Are you using DisplayPort or HDMI? And what's the resolution? I assume 1080p, but still. How do I switch Windows 10 from my HDD to SSD and BIOS, but Windows installed? I don't. Can you rephrase your question instead of just copying and pasting it? I have a basic 4 gig RAM PC. How do I gaming? It depends what is in the PC. Yeah, gaming 3600X or 10400F. So personally, I would go 3600X for a couple of reasons, namely because to get a similar sort of, I guess, price to performance. Well, actually, they have the 10400F has come down a fair bit, but you want to run that on a Z490 motherboard, so that you can run a reasonable speed RAM, but that's a fair bit more expensive than getting, say, a B550 or even a B450 board by comparison. And they're pretty similar performance. What happened to the AMD A series? As in their APUs? They're still making them. The last generation of APUs were OEM only, though. Or if you mean A series like Athlon, yeah. I'm in the BIOS right now. Could I change the Windows boot from my hard drive to my SSD here? If you mean like just change over Windows in the BIOS from one drive to another, no. If you already have Windows installed on the SSD, then yes, you can change over which one it will boot to from the BIOS, but you have to install Windows to the SSD first, or clone it if you really want to before that. So the question of Razer Blade versus GS66, quite clearly you're getting a significantly better laptop in terms of the hardware with the GS66 than you are on the Blade, so probably that one. That will be more a usable experience for you because you have better graphics and more SSD space, and technically a faster screen too. Is it safe to mix RAM sizes? I have an i3-8100. Generally, like it's safe, it's fine, but you can run into some stability issues for sure. Toxin films, I'm pretty sure that SLI is disabled on all but the 3090 in this generation, so the obvious answer there is no, because you physically can't do it. You could have two cards in your system, but you can't play games at the same time. Which is a better experience overall, 24-inch 1080p or 27-inch? Personally, I don't like 27-inch 1080p because of the pixel density. It just doesn't look crisp, it doesn't look nice to me, personally. So if you're gonna do 1080p, I would personally recommend going for 24-inch. Or 25 at, if you're doing, those ultra-high refresh rate monitors. Going with 3600 B450 Tomahawk is the 1660 super good for gaming and streaming at 1080p 60 FPS. It depends on your settings, but it should be pretty decent. Gotta love the mute button on this. But when will the RTX series restock? Slowly and over time. There's still a large number of pre-orders that are yet to be filled, so once those pre-orders are filled, only then will stock become actually available on the retailer sites. Is the HS70 Pro wireless a good headset, or should I get a wired one? So the HS70 Pro, at least the one that I reviewed, I think that was the Pro wireless, the Bluetooth. Anyway, the HS70 Pro is a decent headset. I think for that sort of price, you might have, there might be some other options, including just standard sort of audiophile grade headphones if you're willing to go wired. But if you want the convenience, wireless is awesome. So there's that. Chris, do you mind some timing outs? Waiting on upgrade for CPU and motherboard to replace my i5-7400. Currently have a Radeon 5700. Would you recommend a 5600X and B4-550, or wait for something that matches a little better? So first one, nice. Second, generally speaking, those the B550 boards will have better compatibility with the Ryzen 5600, especially if you don't already have first, second, or third gen Ryzen chips, so that you can update those motherboards. So if you're going down that route with a 5600X, B550 will probably be a what you call safer bet, but that seems like a pretty decent combination. I think you'll have a pretty decent time with it, and while the price to performance with the 5600X where it's sitting at right now is a bit off, it's also not the worst. The Windows install guy, you need to install Windows. You can create a bootable USB stick by searching Windows Media Creation Tool and creating a bootable USB stick and then installing to your SSD, but yeah. Can I damage anything while trying to learn how to overclock? Yes and no. It depends how over the top you fancy being. If you set your say core voltage to way too high, then yes, definitely. But if you're sensible and do everything in really small increments, you know, setting your core multiplier from 34 to 35 and saving it and seeing how that works, and then, you know, maybe bumping up the voltage by 0.01 volts or, you know, 0.05, fine. But otherwise, yeah, be sensible with it, right? Concerning your VFIO video, any chance you might see on a video on single GPU? Not many want 2 GPUs in the system. So the reason that there was 2 GPUs there is that to get a good amount of performance, or actually to get any level of performance from a virtual machine, graphics performance that is, you need to pass in an entire GPU. If you wanted to do a headless host system, so you're running Unraid, for example, with something like Unraid, you don't actually need a GPU for the operating system, and so in that case, you could run 1 GPU, but that's a very different experience from running, you know, Linux as a main, you know, running Ubuntu and then running Windows on top of Ubuntu, right? That's a different thing. How do you fix your RGB strips if you accidentally pulled the tape off? What tape? Nazif, probably with an HDMI cable. AMD 3rd gen good for gaming in 2021? Yes. Is the answer. Yeah, it's fine. It does a good job. And not much else to it, really. The 5th gen is faster, but it's still plenty fine. The double-sided tape on the RGB strips. The answer is probably buy some new double-sided tape. Apologies if I missed any questions. Feel free to post them again if I don't get to them within a couple minutes, right? Like, don't just, you know, spam them in the chat. Where am I at? I'm trying to go down the list. 3600 MHz CL18 or 3400 CL16 Ryzen 5000. So the answer is depends on what which chip you're going with, or which RAM stick vendor you're going with. If you're going with something like Corsair and their Vengeance LPX line, generally speaking, those are very loosely timed and you can manually time those down yourself, and so 3600 is generally better. But it's kind of a trade-off. Generally speaking, you can time memory down more stably than you can frequency memory up, so probably the higher frequency and the higher timings and doing it, you know, down. Nice one, Essentialist. Glad that it's coming. Where am I at? How often should I update the BIOS? There's a bit of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and there's also a bit of BIOS upgrades can often give you things like performance upgrades or access to new features, so probably once a quarter, like every 3 months or so, is probably a good idea for the first year of your ownership, and then after that things tend to not get updated as frequently. Realistically, as long as you update it probably once or twice from the point that you bought it to maybe a year later, you're probably in a pretty good state. 3600, 3060 Ti, or maybe 3050 Ti. That looks like a good system, yeah, definitely. Which headset do you prefer for gaming under $100? It kind of depends what you're after. If you need a headset with a microphone, then I really enjoyed the Corsair Void Pro wireless line, or I think it's the Void Elite now, which I think is under 100 even for the wireless one. It gives you reasonable enough sound quality, reasonable enough mic quality, pretty nice comfort and fit, and is wireless. But other than that, yeah, I think that's those sorts of ones. There is quite the range, but it often comes down to more personal preference than anything. Technology with gamer. So you can, but your RAM will only run at the fastest speed or the slowest speed of all of your kits. So you can buy 3200 megahertz RAM, but if you're using it alongside your 2400 megahertz RAM, all of it will run all of it will run at 2400 megahertz. Cybertron, interesting. I ran a Void, the original Void wireless for a year or two without any problems. So sorry to hear. I've actually used the Pro as well for a long time. So with relatively little issues. So yeah, I'm unfortunate to hear. If I, as always, if I miss anything, feel free to post again. Chat's moving around a lot. Where am I at? HyperX Cloud 2 worth it? From what I've heard, yes. Haven't tested it myself. What wireless headset under 150 would you recommend? I think I don't remember how much the Corsair Virtuoso is, but that's fantastic. So if that's in the price range, that. Otherwise, honestly, I'm not sure. 1000F with the 2070 super good for gaming? Yeah, definitely. There could be some arguments to make for parts choice if you haven't bought those things already, but if you already have it or whatever else, then yeah, that's a decent system. Maxilino? Sorry for saying that wrong. I have not tested either of those, so I can't tell you. Should I get an XM1 or an Aerox 3 wireless? XM1 being the what do you call it, thingy mouse. Come on, brain. The ultra lightweight, super fast mouse. Versus again, thank you very much, Will. Honestly, I'm not sure. The XM1 that I tested and played with was pretty decent, so it's certainly nothing wrong. Although I would probably argue that there are some other options that might be better, lighter, whatever else, including the Glorious line, for example. Well, I watch people do Fortnite gaming, and they have a little device where they can switch their screen, switch what their screen looks like. Do you know what it is? Yes, I have one. It's called a Stream Deck. Let me. There you go. This is the XL. This is the largest one. But this lets you. I'd press them, but it would change the screen, and I can't be bothered. You can start and stop the streams. In my case, I have it set up so that I can change my audio device because I switch between headphones and headsets, and that's really useful. And even plugins like Build in VS Code and see my CPU and GPU temps. But yeah, it's quite cool. There is also, when I put this one down, there is also now the Loop Deck and Loop Deck Live, which is what this is. This one is what I would say, I guess, still under development a bit more, and is way more expensive. So maybe not that one yet. What laptop do you think I should buy? What's your price range? What's your use case? There's a lot. Oh, narrow the price down, $399. If you can find one with a Ryzen CPU, probably a good shout. And good enough storage space. Oh, awesome, Julian. That's great. I'm glad you got it, brought back to life. That's good. Cat's jumping. Do ATX and mini ATX cases affect temperature? They can, certainly. It depends mostly on what type of, or how good the airflow is through the case. If they're, say, mesh fronted, normally it doesn't matter too much. but if they are, you know, flat panels or whatever, and only sort of small slits for airflow, then yeah, they can. Best 1 milliseconds monitor, I guess 240 hertz. Honestly, I haven't tested a 240 hertz monitor in a while. I think the Alienware AF 2522 or whatever it is, that one is, you know, decent. Need a new laptop and price doesn't matter. All right then, what is your use case for said laptop? What monitor should I buy? I'll be doing streaming and Fortnite at any price. So it kind of depends. Technically speaking, you'll probably want to stream, if you're streaming to Twitch, the maximum supported bitrate is 6 megabits per second, which means that 1440p at especially 60 FPS doesn't normally look great at 6 megabits per second, so you want to be streaming at 1080. And so technically playing at 1080 would be the best sort of quality experience, but for playing experience for you, a 1440p 140 Hz monitor would be a very nice shout. So yeah, the Gigabyte M27Q, the Gigabyte G27Q, or the Acer VG271UP are all very good options. Interesting, Barrick. That's surprising. Kind of weird that they're selling it instantly. But you just got a 3060 Ti. Nice. I haven't had one in yet, actually. I'm hoping to get one in at some point soon, but yeah. Are there any good headphones that don't hurt your ears if you're wearing glasses? So what I find is that the non-leather type ones, so like with these, this is the sort of fabric type, these tend to be a little bit more supple. The ones that I use while I'm wearing my glasses are these Audio-Technica ATX G1WLs, which are essentially just the Audio-Technica ATH M50s or M50Xs or whatever, but with a microphone and wireless. So yeah, I like in-ears. Good points. Microphones aren't only the best on in-ears though. True, but I prefer having a little bit more awareness of my surroundings, just ever so slightly, you know. I have a 1060, bought a 140 Hz AOC 27 inch monitor, and I get FPS drops in Call of Duty. Can you help me? Is it a 1440p monitor? Is 1660 Super with a 450 watt power supply? That's probably cutting it close, but it should be fine. It's 1080p. Gotcha. So question is, are you have you updated the drivers at all recently? If so, try that out. How much will the upcoming RTX IO technology affect loading times in your opinion? So, if I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think that loading times were the best benefit. I think it was more about things like texture streaming. I could be wrong, but yeah, at least for me with games on an SSD, I haven't really noticed loading times in a while. The obvious exception is GTA 5, but that one defies all physics. I can't say that I've ever heard of Clev Crass for RAM. So yeah, I'm not sure, but Corsair Vengeance is fairly well regarded generally. Samsung 4K monitor fell down. Now I need a new one. It's a curved 32-inch with 2 HDMI's for €500. Could you help me out? What's the question there? Are you looking for a recommendation for a new monitor of the same kind? I guess that's what you're going for. If you could clarify a bit more, that would be helpful. I still have loading screens with NVMe as the games are often designed with hard drive mined large load times at the beginning of missions. Interesting. For me, like, I've so the context, I've been playing Cyberpunk on my PC and I've had I've now installed a 4TB NVMe SSD for my games drive because my 2TB hard drive died. What are you gonna do? So I've got that, and I've been playing Cyberpunk and it loads almost instantly. But I installed Cyberpunk in a test system and takes a while by comparison. Skygen, no worries. Give it a try. That should fix it, hopefully. But otherwise, you can try tweaking your settings as well to see if that will help. Just bought a HyperX Cloud Stinger Core Wireless, and the mic quality is really bad. Any tips? That's not one of the ones with a removable microphone, is it? Because if it is, you could try using a standard microphone. Otherwise, you can, like, it depends, if you're willing to spend money or not. In terms of just improving audio quality, it's not fantastic. Like, there's not very many ways that you can, upgrade the quality of an existing microphone, especially on one like a headset like that. Does Cyberpunk have loading screens between scenes like entering buildings? Generally, no. It's sometimes when doing story missions or whatever it can, but generally speaking, no. You can drive around as fast as you want. You can walk into the buildings that are open, and it all loads. Basically just as you get close to it, kind of thing. It's not like Half-Life where when you walk into the next room, it subtly tries to load, but in reality, it just stops you dead and then loads the next scene. No, it's just so Ryzen, my camera, which is a Logitech C922X or whatever it is very bad at picking a brightness, and if I try and manually set the brightness to work, it flickers like all hell. So yeah. Best motherboard for a 3600X. Realistically, a B450 one is going to be fine as long as it's been updated to support Ryzen 3rd gen, and yeah, it should have done. I think from that generation, the MSI Tomahawk is probably best. DSLR streams for 2021. When? Do you know, I've been thinking about it. I do have a cam link, although I did promise it to a friend, so we'll see. But yeah, we'll think about it. Do you think talks of consoles and games with 120 FPS modes will finally have frame rates be a focus rather than sheer fidelity and resolution? I certainly hope so. But yeah. And yes, I am pretty much this white in real life. I try and go outside, but I'm Scottish. And that's about it. Thank you, Wonderman Potato Channel. Very kind. What about CES 2021? What are your thoughts about it? So I haven't seen anything overly fantastic come out yet. I don't think that any of the major players will probably have announcements for there. Maybe Intel will, but I haven't heard anything else kind of on the grapevine like I normally do. So yeah, probably not. yeah, I think there'll be some interesting things that come out, but I haven't seen any yet, so we'll see. I need a solution for a Lenovo T4800, no power. That's very difficult for me to diagnose. Intel new, 14 nanometer plus. Yeah, it will be, probably. Did I? Since we're coming to an end, did I read out the Intel Evo marketing wank? So I said this in the review of the Lenovo Yoga sort of Ultrabook tablet 2-in-1 thing that I recommend you check out. It's a really interesting device, but it was powered by Intel Evo, and the thing that got me, and when Intel did their press announcement in like July or whenever it was, and Evo was announced, this got me as well. But it's the Intel Evo platform is based on our extensive research into the pain points and unmet needs of different users across various devices. And we found technical requirements aimed at helping people focus, create, and connect in more meaningful ways. Which what that means is we improved the performance like we would on a normal generation. We improved the built-in graphics performance like we would if it wasn't called Intel Evo. We added instant wake, which you would have done anyway, and better battery life, as you'd expect, and Wi-Fi 6. Like, I know that the whole point of marketing is to convince you that things are shiny and new, but yeah, it's a weird one. Now you're looking for a curved 32-inch monitor. What would you recommend for around that price? It depends on what sort of performance you want. 32-inch curved. That's a difficult one, actually. I'm sure that Samsung will make a good equivalent. Acer will probably do a decent one at 4K, if I remember rightly. And AOC might as well. But I don't think that I've tested a 32-inch 4K curved monitor in a little while, so my most up-to-date knowledge is not very up-to-date, unfortunately. Sorry, I've been missing your questions and can't help all that much. Ryzen, that is a very good combination. With that said, this is the usual hour. So I'll be calling it there. If you have any more tech questions, feel free to jump over to the Discord, or if you want to stick around for next week, I do these streams every Thursday night at 8 PM UK time, so feel free to tune back in then. Of course, there are plenty of other videos coming out as usual on tomorrow, Monday, and Wednesday, so feel free to check out those. And yeah, have a great week. Stay safe. Hope everyone can get their shots soon. And yeah. See you soon.